It's been almost a week since I made my last video. The last one I did was the Denver video. Also, that video hit 1,000 views today. Thank you, everyone. I cannot believe this support I've received on that video. Support for the channel. Everyone has been so amazing. Thank you for everything you've all done. For going and viewing that, liking it, commenting, everything everyone's done. I cannot say enough how blown away I've been by everyone's support thus far. But I have not made a video in a while. And that's because the NBA has sort of been asleep. Well, not asleep in the fact that Twitter is blowing up with mock trades and reports and rumors, but for the last week and a half, it's been all bark and no bite, the NBA. Heaps of things are being said about trades, particularly around, there's the Kyrie, Irving, Russell Westbrook deal, but that's sort of its own monster, probably for another video. But the two big ones are Kevin Durant and Donovan Mitchell, and everyone's saying they want to be traded. Kevin Durant wants out. Utah are sort of testing the market on Donovan Mitchell to see what he'd be worth, and yet nothing has happened. And I think a lot of it comes back to the fact that everyone is waiting to see what happens with Kevin Durant, because the fact is that any team that would trade for Donovan Mitchell are the same teams that are trying to trade for Kevin Durant. Miami, Toronto, teams like that. Any team that has the assets to go out and get a Durant are in a position where they win now. They're also the ones that have been rumored around Donovan Mitchell. Yet I think any team would say would rather have Kevin Durant over Donovan Mitchell. But Kevin Durant, there's also this issue of the price that Brooklyn is asking. They're asking for 6 first-round picks and a top young player like a Scotty Barnes, an Evan Mobley, or a Mikal Bridges and a Cam Johnson. But I don't know whether teams are willing to give that up because of between age and contract. Now, please do not hear me saying Durant is washed. That's the opposite of what I'm saying. Durant is a fantastic player. He will completely shift the balance of the league whenever he is traded. But the fact is that he's played 90 games, less than 90 games over the last 2 seasons, or exactly 90 games according to Basketball Reference, not including playoffs, talking regular season here. But including the playoffs, he's played under 100 games for the last 3 seasons because of injuries, and he's 34. So I think teams are saying, well, are we really willing to give up our entire future, give up 6 first-round picks and a Scotty Barnes for, if we're being honest with ourselves, we're probably going to get 2 years of Durant in his prime. Now, Durant in his prime is enough to make you title contenders, can't speak, immediately. But you can't really bet on getting more than that between how old he's been, between his age and his injury history. You have to really say, okay, I'm going to get probably 2 good years out of Durant where he's a top 10 player, top 15 player, and then after that he's going to begin to fade. And that's totally respectable. He'll be 36 by then. That's what you're expecting. But am I really willing to give up Barnes and 6 first-round picks to get Durant for these 2 years? Or do I wait a couple years and then use those picks to build a team around Scotty Barnes or around Evan Mobley or around Mikal Bridges and Cam Johnson? I think Phoenix are the one team that are probably willing to give up that deal for Durant just because of Chris Paul and his age, and they want to compete with Chris Paul because of how good he's been for them and how good of a player he is. But the truth is that I think a lot of teams are sort of in a bit of limbo because they don't want to give up this insane deal, and that would make you think, oh, well, in that case, fine, Brooklyn will wait a month and then the price will drop down to 4 first-round picks, maybe some pick swaps, whatever. No, they're not going to do that because of one reason, and that's Rudy Gobert. The Rudy Gobert trade went through under a month ago, about 3 weeks ago, and he went for 4 first-round picks and young players. And Brooklyn are not going to let themselves get less than that for Durant. I think that would be silly if they even came close to it, because Durant is so much better of a player than Gobert. They're saying, if that's what Gobert is worth, Durant is worth at least 6 first-round picks. And we were a laughing stock 10 years ago when we traded for Garnett and Pierce. We're not going to let ourselves get into that spot again. We cannot afford to let Durant go for less than what Rudy Gobert or even DeJounte Murray and those guys went for in 3 first-round picks, 4 first-round picks. We need at least 6 and a top young player for someone of Durant's caliber. But what team is willing to give that up? And then that comes to the Donovan Mitchell stuff of, until Durant goes, no team is really willing to trade for Donovan Mitchell except for one team, and that's the Knicks. And that's because the Knicks know, as much as they love Durant, they would go all in on Durant. Brooklyn's never going to trade to New York. I think they're just not going to go near that rivals. They're not going to do that at all. So then they know their only chance to really go after a big player would be to get Donovan Mitchell. But they also know they're not really in a bidding war with anyone. And when Utah asks for 6 first-round picks and like Quinn Grimes, Obi Toppin, Cam Reddish, they're like, why should we give that up when we know no one else is really bidding for Donovan Mitchell at the moment? So we should just wait. Maybe we'll only want 4 first-round picks in that deal. Maybe we want to keep Cam Reddish or Obi Toppin and just include the other 2 guys. So I think that's sort of what's keeping the league in this limbo at the moment, is that no team is willing to trade for Donovan Mitchell because of that. Because any team that would be willing to trade for Mitchell could trade for Durant. And also the fact that, as I said, Durant can shift the balance of the league with one trade. He's that good. And teams like the Knicks, they may be saying, okay, if Durant goes to Toronto, we have to go through Celtics, Toronto, Milwaukee, Philly, Miami next season. The East will be stacked. But if Durant goes to like a Memphis or a Phoenix or gets pushed over to the Western Conference, it's like, okay, the East is a bit more open next season. So things like that, teams that I think you want to know where the top 5 or 6 guys are going to be in the league next year when you make a all-in move. Yet we don't know that at the moment because we don't know where Durant will be. And I think teams don't want to really uproot everything until they know what things are going to look like in the next couple seasons. And Durant will so shift that they can't afford to, they don't really want to trade right now. So it's sort of interesting. And I think this could go on for a while because of the fact that Durant is under contract and the fact that Brooklyn don't want to get rid of him. This isn't Brooklyn saying, we want to go rebuild. Their ideal is to keep Durant, keep Kyrie next season, and run it back and finally get to see them with Ben Simmons. But Durant wants out, and teams want Durant, and I think they're concerned that Durant will sit out the season or things could happen, and then Kyrie's a free agent and he'll go to the Lakers or whoever will actually give him a deal next season. And it's sort of interesting because it's sort of become a situation where it's who's going to blink first in the NBA. Is it going to be Brooklyn? Are they just going to pull the trigger on a Kevin Durant trade? But I don't think they will, because I think they cannot afford to trade Durant for less than Rudy Gobert goes for. Then it's like, oh, okay, does like the Knicks just say, stuff it, we're going to trade all 6 first-round picks for Donovan Mitchell. And then once he's off the board and Durant's the only piece, then the bidding war maybe gets going there. I could see that happening. I think that's the most likely scenario, is that Donovan Mitchell is the first trade, then we see a Durant, then we see a Kyrie trade. But I just don't know. I think the Knicks are nervous about stuffing it up again, so I don't know what's going to happen there. But I think there is a deal there, and I think that can get done soon. I think it's close enough that maybe they say like 5 first-round picks, and they sort of find a middle ground on that. Maybe some of them pick swaps, maybe some protections are thrown on for New York's sake, and they do throw in a 6th pick, but they're all like, the last 3 are all lottery protected or something. But are Utah even willing to go for that? I don't know. And then do one of the other teams blink and just say, know what, we're just going to trade everything for Durant. We think we can compete. We think Durant, Siakam, Anunoby, Van Fleet. We think Durant, Garland, and Allen. We think Durant, Chris Paul, Devin Booker. We think that can get a title next season or in the next 2 seasons. Maybe that happens as well. Maybe Phoenix trade for Durant, and then suddenly the hype around Donovan Mitchell goes up. I think that's the other thing with Utah, is that they know that if Durant is traded first, they will get a much better return for Donovan Mitchell, because he'll be the only true all-NBA caliber player on the market. And I think because of that, they're like, well, we could take this deal from the Knicks, or we could go the high-risk play of leaving that on the table, maybe losing it, but waiting for Durant to go, and then seeing if we can get something from Toronto, which we like more, or getting something from Miami that we like more, or getting something from Sacramento or Washington that we like more. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens there. I really don't know who blinks first. I think if I had to put my money on it, I'm saying New York trade for Donovan Mitchell, the Nets trade Durant to a team who were maybe in the Mitchell race, but now this is their only hope, and then Kyrie and Westbrook get traded. That's my pick. Also, the fact that I think Danny Ainge, the Jazz owner, general manager, I can't remember his exact title, he was a Celtic. He would love to mess up the Knicks, and he could do that by trading for 6 of their first-round picks. He could ruin their future if it doesn't work out, and I think he would like that idea. But overall, I really don't see who blinks first. It could be Mitchell, but it could be Durant. it could be no one. We could go into next season without having these trades go down. That is a true possibility, and teams just run it back, and then we see the trade deadline, things go crazy. But it's going to be interesting. I really don't know what's happening. I don't know who's going to blink first. Alright, that's going to do it for me today. Thank you so much for watching. Comment below who you see blinking first. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel if you're new. Hit me up on those social media links below. God bless. Adios.